So I want to talk about satisfice. And that's for me a new word. I don't know why it's a new word because I should have known this word from my financial background. And it's basically a mix between enough and suffice, where they meet satisfy. So it is not satisfying, it is not sufficing, it is satisficing. Okay. And this is basically where you're making a decision or you choose a course of action that satisfies the minimum requirements to achieve your goals. Okay, so rather than trying to maximize any one of those things, you're choosing what is just the bare minimum that will satisfy or suffice all of my requirements or all of my objectives. So I don't have to maximize or optimize any one thing. I just have to make sure that it meets everything. So if I look at this in terms of my values, for example, it means that it has to align with my personal freedom, with my inner wisdom, with creating more joy and laughter in my life. It leads me, or at least it does not, hey Camilo, how nice to see you. Hi Willie, nice to see you. It does not infringe or inhibit me from achieving mastery and empowerment of myself or others. Okay. And so really it's about choosing to satisfy all areas of my life, focusing on life as the whole rather than to looking exclusively at just my career or just my relationships or just my personal growth or my spiritual life, but rather what is that choice in those decisions or that lifestyle that satisfies all of me. And I don't know about you, but looking around the world right now at what is called the Great Resignation, where a whole lot of people are saying, this is enough, I quit. And I want a lifestyle that protects what's truly important to me. I think that what people are striving for is this place where they have a life that they love, where they're no longer willing to sacrifice their family or their personal lives for their careers. So how do we make decisions based on satisficing? Okay. Like I said, it's not about maximizing. Okay. And sometimes when we're trying to maximize, we don't make any decision at all. Okay. Or we fail to find a choice or a solution that meets all of our expectations because we're trying to get optimal results rather than getting enough. Okay. So, for example, you might choose your dream job that has that ideal salary range, but it takes you away from your family and friends, or you're working really long hours that infringe upon your personal health. Okay. So you've maximized the benefits or the outcomes for your career, but at what cost? So a satisficing choice might not be the highest salary or that dream job that takes you exactly where you wanted to go right now, but it allows you to be on the path of that career direction without sacrificing your relationships or your health. So in business terms, satisficing solutions are sometimes frowned upon. Okay. And one of the limitations of satisficing is that there's no strict definition of an adequate or an acceptable outcome, i.e., you can't measure it. If you're looking at SMART goals, what's measurable? What is adequate or acceptable? Now, as a coach, I disagree because I believe that in coaching, we can generate the wisdom of what is satisfactory or acceptable. Okay. And I would like to suggest that we always use two very basic and simple criteria. And the two criteria are, first and foremost, your personal values. What are your values? Not what are good ideas, not what are your company's values, not what are your family's values, but what are your personal values? What is the most important thing for you? And the second thing that I would use as criteria is that it has to come from a place of inner alignment. Has to be a place where my thoughts, my planning, my rational analysis actually aligns with my desires and my emotions. What's truly important to me on a heart level? What's important to me from my relationships? And at a gut level, what risks am I willing to take? What are my boundaries of security and safety? What motivates me? And this second criteria is 100% based on M-braining, that we have 3 intelligence centers, head, heart, and gut, that play a role in decision making. Okay. So I want to look very briefly at what would be a values-based decision. Okay. So it doesn't matter if you're making a choice in any part of life, whether it's a family decision, a health decision, something about your lifestyle or your professional growth. At a bare minimum, it needs to align with your values. So obviously, if you don't have clarity on your personal values, that's the first step. What is absolutely non-negotiable to you? And the second one, like I said, is that inner alignment. Okay. And that inner alignment is a little harder to explain. Okay. Because it's generative. It's not an end state of absolute knowing, but rather it's something that you're continually working on generating of inner alignment and wisdom. Okay. And so you're going to be in the moment in your body. You've got to have a whole lot of interoception, as well as your external stimulus, the situation and life as it's evolving around you. It is constantly changing, and you're constantly changing and adapting your response. So it's a spiral of personal growth where you're constantly moving up, not a static state of being. So from a heart space, I would think that at all times, I'm looking at what are my wants and desires? What's important to me that what am I holding in my heart in this decision-making process? What emotions am I feeling? And I had a situation, for example, this morning where I felt I was working on something I wanted to work towards, and I could feel my chest tighten with fear. I immediately felt my entire body flooded with a response that sent me sleepy and tired. And I was like, well, that's interesting. So the moment I feel fear, my body responds to totally shut me down and turn me off. In fact, I really wanted to just go lie down and sleep rather than actually addressing what that was. But that's what I was feeling. I was feeling fear about making a decision and moving forward. So the other thing that you're going to look at is, how does this impact relationships? When I am truly compassionate, genuinely compassionate to myself and others, what do I want to create in my life that is for my best interest as well as for the best interest of other parties that are directly impacted by my life choices? At a head level, I'm going to look at this from various perspectives. Okay. I'm going to ask others for their point of view. I'm going to ask people for their opinions, perhaps. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to take their opinion and completely apply it to the decision I'm making. But I'm going to look at this as part of the perspective I'm choosing to look at. I'm going to take time thinking and analyzing, okay? And if you do any left brain, right brain work, you're going to take time looking at this from both sides. I'm going to consider for a moment, what does this mean to me? What additional purpose does this serve? And then the most important part of this is I'm going to be creative thinking outside the box. I'm going to look at this from all those different angles, looking at my values, looking at what I want, my heart's desire, and say, okay, well, what solutions, what creative choices do I have? Then, of course, I'm going to consider things when I'm looking at alignment, like my identity. Who am I? Does this actually represent this choice? Is it who I am? Because what is the point of making a choice just to please other people if it's not who you are? If you get that gut-wrenching instinct of this is not who I am, that's something to listen to. That's something to take into account. It's not something to just ignore, okay? If you get that gut-wrenching response of, this is too risky, I'm not comfortable, well, there's a boundary you need to look at. Is this boundary one that I can surpass? Or is it something that I need to actually listen to? Like I said, it's a process of alignment. It is not just a one-off, one and done. No, it's something I am continually doing as a process of generative wisdom, okay? So creating that life you love is making sure that no part of you gets left behind or is ignored. You don't want an incomplete life where you're only focusing on career or you're only focusing on family and ignoring your own needs. You're not striving for perfection in any way. In fact, you're trying to literally have it all. Imperfectly, perhaps, cutting away what is unnecessary, but truly trying to live with everything that you want to have. So you're going to choose a great plan that is great for you. Now, it might not be perfect, but it is going to be great. You're going to strive for excellence, not perfection. So, as I've said, one of my values is wisdom. So, I'm not going to follow my heart chasing off after a dream without thinking it through. I want wise compassion and wise passion. So it's not just chasing after the whims of my heart like some awkward Yeti comic, okay? I also want wise courage. So I'm going to take into account what are the risks and my choice of what I'm willing to do and what risks I'm willing to take is facing my fears. It's not ignoring them. And it's not simply overriding my gut's concerns, but taking them into account and looking at, well, what is valid and what can I just ignore? How do I take into account any risks and then build up courage to face it? So I want, and I'm sure all of us want, a lifestyle that weaves together everything that is important to me. So I want to make sure that I am a great mother. I want to make sure that career-wise, I'm doing something that I love, that I'm passionate about. Okay. I want to have vital relationships, people that I connect with that are truly impactful in my life.